text number 3 through 4 on page 578 in the Temple Room. So we'll do the Sanskrit and English in unison. Okay, text number 3 through 4. Ye taksharam anirdesham avyaktam paripasate sarvatra gammachintyam cha kutastam achalam dhruvam saniyam indriya gramam sarvatra samabhuryaha te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hitevrta. Translation. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, fixed, and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. Text number 5. Klesho dikartas tesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dhukam devahadbir avapyate. Translation. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. Text 6 through 7. Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpara ananyena eva yogena mam dvanyanta upasate deshamaham samudarta mrityu sangsara sagrat bhavami na chirat partha mayeva shita chetasam. Translation. For one who worships me, giving up all his activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, who has fixed his mind upon me, O son of Pritha, for him I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Text number 8. Mayeva mana adasva mayi buddhim niveshaya Nishashyasi maya eva atta urdvam nasangshyaha. Translation. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. Text number 9. Atachitam samadhatum nashukshnashi mayistiram abhyasa yogena tatomam ichaptum dhananjaya. Translation. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, you will develop a desire to attain to me. Thank you. Text number 10. Abhyasepya samarthosi mat karma paramo bhava mad artam api karmani kurvan siddhim avapsisi. Translation. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me you will come to the perfect stage. Text 11. Ataitat apyasaktosi kartamad yogam ashritaha sarva karma phalatyagam tata kuru yatatmavan. Translation. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness, then try to act, giving up all results of your work, and try to be self-situated. Text 12. Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasaj jnanadhyanam vishishyate dhyanat karma phala tyagas tyagach chantir anantaram. Translation. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action, for by such renunciation one can attain peace of mind. Text 13 through 14. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha Nirmamo niharankara samadhuka sukhakshami santushta satatam yogi yatatma dridhanishya mayarpita manobhudhir yomad bhakta same priya. Translation. One who is not envious, but who is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, who is free from false ego, and equal both in happiness and distress, who is always satisfied and engaged in devotional service with determination, and whose mind and intelligence are in agreement with me, he is very dear to me. Back to text number 3 through 4. Translation. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Those who do not directly worship the Supreme Godhead, Krishna, but who attempt to achieve the same goal by an indirect process, also ultimately achieve the supreme goal, Sri Krishna. As is stated, after many births, the man of wisdom seeks refuge in me, knowing Vasudeva is all. When a person comes to full knowledge after many births, he surrenders unto Lord Krishna. If one approaches the Godhead by the method mentioned in this verse, he has to control the senses, render service to everyone, and engage in the welfare of all beings. It is inferred that one has to approach Lord Krishna, otherwise there is no perfect realization. Often there is much penance involved before one fully surrenders unto him. In order to perceive the supersoul within the individual soul, one has to cease the sensual activities of seeing, hearing, tasting, working, etc. Then one comes to understand that the Supreme Soul is present everywhere. Realizing this, one envies no living entity. He sees no difference between man and animal, because he sees soul only, not the outer covering. But for the common man, this method of impersonal realization is very difficult. So Krishna is continuing to explain how this worship of the unmanifest is more difficult. And in the second text we heard last night, he said that, so those who worship my personal form are most perfect. Because Arjuna asks, which is considered more perfect, engage in your personal service or worshiping the Brahman, unmanifest. Yeah, so Krishna is saying that even those who fully worship Brahman or the unmanifest, they have to do that by controlling the senses, being equally disposed to everyone, engaging in the welfare of all, and then at last they achieve me. So it's also part of the transcendental realization to worship Brahman. Brahmatmi Paramatmiti Bhagavan iti Shabdite. That there's 3 features of the absolute truth, so this is one of them, but they don't achieve Krishna directly, and it takes many births for them, because we know that if one becomes Brahman realized, then they go to the Brahmajyoti, they merge to the Brahmajyoti. They don't merge, but they, just like the green bird entering the green tree, they stay in the Brahmajyoti as that bird, and they radiate light. But they're not satisfied ultimately, so they come back down to the material world and they perform philanthropic activities, which is nice, but it's not the best thing to do if it's devoid of devotional service. And so, at last, Bahunam Jamanamante, after many, many births, the wise seek refuge in Krishna, knowing Vasudeva is all. So ultimately, the material world is designed for us to go back to Krishna, to worship the Supreme Lord, because this place is not, it's not a permanent home. It's temporary, and we become disturbed. We become, by the courses of the laws of nature, we become disturbed ultimately. Even if we go to the heavenly planet, still we have to come back after we exhaust our activities, our pious acts. And even if we are to go to become a demigod, we even know that the demigods, they also have some troubles as well. Although they are devotees of the Lord, they're not. Facilities of material nature, but they also want to serve the Lord. So they may get some position like that as a demigod. But there's still so much quarrel that happens even amongst the demigods themselves, as we hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and also they're always in anxiety because the demons are always trying to overthrow the demigod's position. So even amidst so much heavenly opulence, so much enjoyment, those anxieties are there as well. And because one is enjoying so much heavenly pleasures, then in general, the thoughts of self-realization do not enter the mind. And we can see people in this world as well, they may have a mansion and there's just nearby the plaza, there's like a country club, and those homes around there are like millions of dollars, so like different celebrities of Kansas City live in that area by this plaza country club. And so these are affluent, very affluent people, and they're enjoying so lavishly, they have a nice, I don't know exactly, it's a club, like golf course and things like that, pool table, a nice pool and this and that, so facilities for enjoyment. It's so heavenly that why would the mind start thinking about self-realization? Why start thinking about why people are suffering when they're just seeing people that appear to be happy all the time? And they're also have so much facility for enjoyment. So that heavenly pleasure can distract one completely from, it bewilders one's intelligence, so then they don't inquire into the absolute truth. They don't see the situation for what it really is here in the material world. Although they will experience suffering in various ways, especially in this age of Kali. Their wife cheats on them, or they cheat on their wife, a divorce happens, so much misery comes with separation like that. And then accidents, they might get an accident in their Porsche, sports car, so many things. Everybody's completely agitated in this age of Kali. Above all, people are always disturbed. So the remedy is the chanting of the holy names. And that's how we can personally serve Krishna in this age of Kali. It's the best process for self-realization. So when Krishna is saying, we worship him in his personal form, we should always be engaged. There's many processes of devotional service, but hearing and chanting is the beginning. And those are the most important for us to do. So we have a process program where we do that every day together. So, point here, after many births, these people who worship the supreme Brahman, they worship Brahman, they will ultimately come back to Krishna. If you give them an infinite number of time, because that's why this world is designed for. It's designed for us to ultimately come back to him. That's the purpose of the material world. Give the conditioned souls some time to try to fulfill their material enjoyment, their desires, because of their envy towards Krishna, and give them some time, but there's always this because the time factor is there. There's always anxiety of dying. There's always anxiety in the material world. So ultimately, they'll come to the point of surrendering to Krishna. It's the most inherent quality that we have. The most innate quality is to offer service to the Supreme, because that's why we were created. Jivera Swarabhai Krishna Nitidas. Okay, so are there any comments or questions on these points? Gurudev, did you have something? Bhakt, did you have something?
So you were saying that the demigods, they're not pure devotees, but in the Srimad Bhagavatam I was reading that they are pure devotees, but highly in the mode of goodness. So I'm kind of confused on this point. I don't know if they are pure devotees or if they're just in the mode of goodness. I don't know, because yeah. So I'm just confused on that.
I don't remember reading their pure devotees.
I don't remember either. I think it was in the second or end of the second canto or beginning of the third canto. It said it's like really in there. It's like in the middle of it's like in a purport. It's in the middle of a purport. So
you have to show me, but I don't remember ever reading that. But
they're called Sakama devotees.
They're Sakama devotees, yeah.
Sakama?
Devotees like Narad Muni, he's a Nishkama devotee, without material desires. So they have
It's being amplified, but
Hare Krishna. Sorry, Krishna. Turn to the microphone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
you can also turn it up on like the actual box.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Devotees like Narad Muni, Nishkama devotee, that's what we take as pure devotee. He has nothing to get materially. Pure devotee just wants to serve Krishna, and he's not interested in trying to make arrangements for himself in the material world to enjoy it. Just wants to serve. And generally the demigods, the administrative demigods, such as Indra and Chandra, etc., they do have some desires. They like to be in an opulent situation. They like to have power. They like to have beautiful wives, beautiful women. They like all these opulences. And then when they have that, then they're encouraged to do devotional service. So that's they can become pure devotees. Brahma can become a pure devotee. Brahma is inclined to be a pure devotee because he's got his own planet, and so many devotees, saintly persons come there to get his association. Anyone can become a pure devotee, but generally, that's the situation.
Thank you. It's really loud. Thank you. Okay, so we'll go on to text number 5. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifest, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. Go to the next text. For one who worships me, giving up all his activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, who has fixed his mind upon me, O son of Pritha, for him I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Very nice. Text 8. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. Maya eva mana adatsva mayi buddham naveshya nivishyasi maya eva Ata urdvam nasangshya. But this is the essence of Bhakti Yoga, basically, these two verses. One should worship me, giving up all activities unto me, being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, always meditating upon me, who has fixed his mind upon me, O son of Pritha, for him I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Yes. So this is the ultimate state of consciousness, to always be in devotional service of the Lord, and thus he is the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. In that state, then there's one is fully satisfied. There's nothing to gain from this material world, this material dimension, and they're fully protected by Krishna from the ultimate suffering of this world, which is death. So let's read this purport to 6 through 7. It is explicitly stated here that the devotees are very fortunate to be delivered very soon from material existence by the Lord. In pure devotional service, one comes to the realization that God is great and that the individual soul is subordinate to him. His duty is to render service to the Lord. If not, then he will render service to Maya. In pure devotional service, one comes to the realization that God is great and that the individual soul is subordinate to him. So this is the realization that one gets when we perform devotional service. Gradually we get this realization, it becomes deeper in us that God is great, Krishna is the supreme, and we're subordinate to him, and we're meant to give service. Either service to Krishna or service to Maya. That's our Tatashta Shakti position, our marginal position is to either choose to serve Krishna or the material energy, Maya. As stated before, the Supreme Lord can only be appreciated by devotional service. Therefore, one should be fully devoted. One should fix his mind fully on Krishna in order to achieve him. One should work only for Krishna. It does not matter in what kind of work one engages, but that work should be done only for Krishna. That is the standard of devotional service. The devotee does not desire any achievement other than pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His life's mission is to please Krishna, and he can sacrifice everything for Krishna's satisfaction, just as Arjuna did in the battle of Kurukshetra. The process is very simple. One can devote himself in his occupation and engage at the same time in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Such transcendental chanting attracts the devotee to the personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord herein promises that he will, without delay, deliver a pure devotee, thus engaged from the ocean of material existence. Those who are advanced in yoga practice can willfully transfer the soul to whatever planet they like by the yoga process. And others take the opportunity in various ways, but as far as the devotee is concerned, it is clearly stated here that the Lord himself takes him. He does not need to wait to become very experienced in order to transfer himself to the spiritual sky.
Okay, you got it?
Yeah,
Thank
please.
you. I was thinking there's example in Mithila, the city of Mithila, at that time was being ruled by great king Bahulashva. And also living in Mithila, there was a very nice Brahmin named Shrutadev. And they heard that Lord Krishna was coming there, and they both prepared, and they received the Lord. They were pure devotees, both of them. One was so poor, he was a Brahmin. Shrutadev was so poor, he had nothing, practically nothing. And Bahulashva had everything, he was so wealthy. So they both invited Krishna and the sages that he was traveling with to come to their home for receiving. So Krishna expanded himself and the sages that were with him. So they went in two groups. One group went with Shrutadev in his home, and one group of Krishna and the sages stayed with Bahulashva. And it's said there that these two devotees were both at the same platform. They were both pure devotees. So we can see how one can be a pure devotee as a grihasta or a brahmachari or a sannyasi. It doesn't make any difference. And whether one is wealthy, Bahulashva, he was wealthy, but he was so devoted. He did everything for Krishna. And Shrutadev was so poor. When they came to Shrutadev's place, he gave them some leaf seats. They sat on some little mat, and dal and rice. That was all they could serve. That's all they had. And in Bahulashva's palace, everything was extremely opulent, the most opulent. Krishna is satisfied with either. He doesn't mind. However one can render the most service, try to please the Lord in whatever situation he's in. Krishna is easily pleased. He says, Patram pushpam palam toyam yomi bhaktya prayachti taram bhakti paritam vashnami prayadamana. One offers me with love and devotion a leaf of flower, fruit or water, I will accept it. He accepts the bhava grahi. He's looking for the devotion that goes into the offering. And whether it's opulent or not opulent, Krishna is interested in the loving devotion that's rendered by the devotee. So we should accept whatever situation we find ourselves, whether in a very rich situation where we have so much wealth, that's fine. It can be used for Krishna. And if we're very poor, there's no problem. We can chant Hare Krishna and use whatever we have got, we'll offer to Krishna. And he'll be satisfied, and we'll be satisfied. And we'll set a good example for the rest of the people in society, because there has to be role models, how to live satisfied. Whereas now everybody's being taught you can never be satisfied. They teach you, if you don't have this car, you won't be satisfied. If you don't have this, whatever it is, to enjoy your senses, you're not going to be satisfied. If you don't have this woman, you won't be satisfied. If you don't have this much money, if you don't have this. So everybody's in anxiety and nobody's satisfied. But one of the main qualifications of a Brahmin, and devotees automatically have the qualities of Brahmins, is that he's satisfied. Mukti mukti siddhi kami akaleya shanta. Krishna bhakta nishkama ateva shanta. Nishkama means he has no material desires. He has nothing to gain. He's not trying to move up the ladder. He's not trying to increase his level of sense enjoyment. He's just trying to increase his level of surrender and devotion to Krishna. And Krishna is very pleased with that.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Gadari, did you have a question?
I had like a reinforcing comment. I was hearing one conversation from Srila Prabhupada. He was giving it in Bhuvaneshwar. I'm not exactly sure. I think it was like somewhere, the Orient people.
Yeah, probably Bhuvaneshwar.
Orissa, yeah.
Bhuvaneshwar, most likely.
I don't know where that is, but
Yeah.
so he was speaking to some gentleman there. It was a conversation, I think. And Prabhupada was explaining that sannyasa is actually mandatory, in one sense. But then later on, he brought up this point that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that, whatever you do, whether you're grihastha or whatever, you get on the real level of sannyasa to do everything for Krishna. But Prabhupada mentioned one point that you spoke about, which was that these persons who so-called realized Brahman, they may temporarily cease their material activities or renounce and things like that. But I never heard this before, but Prabhupada clarified. He said, they fall back down in a few years. It's like, they may temporarily think that they have become one or whatever, and then they renounce on that platform. But within a few years, they give up that type of renouncement and they just go back to some other activities. I thought that was nice to hear that it's like even within this life, they so-called take sannyas and become liberated or realize Brahman. But within this very lifetime, they start doing material activities again. I don't know, I never heard that, so I appreciate that.
Thank you for sharing. Dr. Fred?
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances.
Accepted.
I was wondering if I could share some text from Chaitanya Charitamrita Anjalila. If that's
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I'll try and go as quick as I can. Chapter 8, starting from chapter 8, text 19. Madhavendra Puri was chanting the holy name of Krishna, and sometimes he would cry, "Oh my Lord, I did not get shelter at Mathura." Next text. And Ramachandra Puri was so foolish that he fearlessly dared to instruct his spiritual master. Text 22. Quote, "If you are in full transcendental bliss," he said, "you should now remember only Brahman. Why are you crying?" Text 22. Hearing this instruction, Madhavendra Puri, greatly angry, rebuked him by saying, quote, "Get out, you sinful rascal." And there's a purport to this. Ramachandra Puri could not understand that his spiritual master, Madhavendra Puri, was feeling transcendental separation. His lamentation was not material. Rather, it proceeded from the highest stage of ecstatic love of Krishna. When he was crying in separation, quote, "I could not achieve Krishna. I cannot reach Mathura," end quote. This was not ordinary material lamentation. Ramachandra Puri was not sufficiently expert to understand the feelings of Madhavendra Puri, but nevertheless he thought himself very advanced. Therefore, regarding Madhavendra Puri's expressions as ordinary material lamentation, he advised him to remember Brahman because he was latently an impersonalist. Madhavendra Puri understood Ramachandra Puri's position as a great fool and therefore immediately rebuked him. Such a reprimand from the spiritual master is certainly for the betterment of the disciple. Next text. O my Lord Krishna, I cannot reach you, nor could I reach your abode, Mathura. I am dying in my unhappiness, and now this rascal has come to give me more pain. Text 24. Don't show your face to me. Go anywhere else you like. If I die seeing your face, I shall not achieve the destination of my life. Text 25. I am dying without achieving the shelter of Krishna, and therefore I am greatly unhappy. Now this condemned foolish rascal has come to instruct me about Brahman. Text 26. Ramachandra Puri was thus denounced by Madhavendra Puri due to his offense. Gradually, material desire appeared within him. Purport. The word Lashana, material desires, refers to dry speculative knowledge. Such speculative knowledge is only material, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.4. A person without devotional service who simply wants to know things, kevala bodha labdhaya haye, gains only dry speculative knowledge but no spiritual profit. This is confirmed in the Bhakti Sandarbha 111, wherein it said, Jivan mukta api punar yanti samsara vashanam yadya chantya mahasaktau bhagavatya aparadinaya. Quote, even though one is liberated in this life, if one offends the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he falls down in the midst of material desires, of which dry speculation about spiritual realization is one, end quote. In his Lagu Toshani commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.32, Jiva Goswami says, Jivan mukta api punar bandhanam yanti karma bihi yadiya chincha mahashaktau bhagavati apardinaha. Even if one is liberated in this life, he becomes addicted to material desires because of offenses to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A similar quotation from one of the Puranas also appears in Vishnu Bhakti Chandrodaya, Jivan Mukta Prabhajante Kvachit Samsara Vashanam Yogino Na Vilipyante Karma Bahir Bhagavat Paraha. Even liberated souls sometimes fall down to material desires, but those who fully engage in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead are not affected by such desires. These are references from authoritative revealed scriptures. If one becomes an offender to a spiritual master or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he falls down to the material platform to merely speculate. There's a couple more, but do you want me to stop? You're leaving.
Yeah, maybe we can comment. First class devotional service, as described by Srila Rupa Goswami, is Anyabhilashita Shunyam. Gana karmadina vritam anukulina Krishna no shilam bhakti uttama. That one comes to first class devotional service when one is free from this monistic philosophy, which is one of the points in that verse. This speculative knowledge of the Absolute Truth, this Brahman-focused aim. One has to be free from that to enter into first-class devotional service. And those that are, then they're not interested, just like we heard the past time. Why are you speaking this Brahman? Doesn't attract me at all. So, see, for the pure devotees, they're not attracted at all to the Brahman realization. But the Brahman realized are attracted to pure devotional service. That's the Atmaram verse. Even though they're self-satisfied in Brahman realization, still they're become attracted to the topics of the personality of Godhead. And his devotional service, we notice in the case of the four Kumaras, after they smelt the tulasi leaves, they were offered to the Lord Vishnu. They became attracted to serving Vishnu. Of course, also Shukadeva Goswami has explained that he was Brahman realized and person realized, but he became a devotee of the Lord after hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So anyway, yeah. For the devotee to hear that Krishna is not a person is when you love like let's say you love somebody and somebody says, oh, this person doesn't exist, it's all in your head, or actually, they have no identity, then yeah, it's like, what? And to be more attracted to that than having a relationship with the person is, there's not much taste in it, Say, okay, well, you guys are one, then, okay, just myself is that person. So I'm just having a relationship with myself, not actually like another person with individuality. It's not attractive in practical dealings, yet so many people are attracted to this idea of the absolute truth being Brahman realized. And Prabhupada breaks it down that that's because one is attached to a bodily concept of life. So then they speculate about something great, the greatest thing being something which is unmanifest. So for the devotees, they're just interested in devotional service to Krishna. So loving Krishna is actually it's the essence of our existence. It's the highest philosophy, it's the highest aim, which is pure love of Krishna, prema pramartha mahan. And we're hearing how to get that. And Krishna is, through Arjuna, is relieving our doubts about pure devotional service in the Bhagavad Gita, especially in this chapter, right? Because it's such the last snare of Maya to be attracted to the impersonal feature of the Lord. And so that Shunyavad is within us, and we have to eradicate it by the process of devotional service. Because through Atashi Krishna Namari Nava Vedgrayam Indri Sevon Muke Hijivado Svayam Evas Pratira. By these material senses we have, we can't fully appreciate Krishna, but by serving Krishna, starting with our tongue, and by hearing and by chanting the holy name and tasting Krishna Prasadam, then we purify our senses. And then we can actually appreciate the Lord in all of his features. Personal. We can realize his personal existence in all of these features that he has. Pastimes, form, paraphernalia, etc. Holy name. That will become revealed more and more over time. All right. Are there any last comments or questions? So loving Krishna, that's what he's explaining the symptoms of. For one who's worshiping him, engaging all of activities, being devoted, always fixing their mind upon Krishna. This is a symptom of love. And fixing your mind upon him, engaging all your intelligence, how to please Krishna. We can engage our intelligence in so many, we're already engaging, our intelligence is engaged in so many ways. We might be thinking right now, okay, what am I going to do after this class? I'm going to go maybe take a little bit of milk, then I'm going to run upstairs, and I'm going to do this, do that, I'm going to go across the ashram. Maybe I shouldn't take some milk because my digestion isn't going. Am I reading some thoughts here? So the intelligence is just, automatically on autopilot throughout our day. And that's good, because then we can try to understand what's the best action to perform. When our intelligence is, that is in one sense using our intelligence in the service of Krishna, because we're trying to figure out how to be regulated, how to serve him better, how to like that. So when our intelligence is thinking about Krishna, it's engaging in Krishna, we're trying to understand, how do I understand the Bhagavad Gita? How do I understand the message being spoken? How do I do my services better? How do I set up my life so that I can more easily serve Krishna? As Maharaj was mentioning, we just want to be satisfied in whatever state we're in or whatever circumstances. And when we have leaders that are like that, then that is good for society. So, engaging our intelligence of Krishna. He says we worship him with our intelligence by hearing Bhagavad Gita, trying to understand this message that he's speaking. Also, you can relate that to Srimad Bhagavatam as well. We can utilize our intelligence by thinking, okay, how do I distribute more books for Krishna? So many ways. And that's the wonderful thing about Bhakti Yoga, is that you have to learn the art, how to always be performing service to Krishna. And even the grihastas, they may not be necessarily serving the temple and doing like temple services or services to the institution of ISKCON, but they're going to work and then they're giving up their results to Krishna, whether that's time or finances, and that is also engaging their intelligence, how to serve Krishna by doing their occupation in the world. So let us try to engage our intelligence more and more in the service of Krishna and always be serving him in various capacities, starting with the chanting of the holy name. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada